Hello and welcome to the Lund University International Podcast. On the show, you'll hear from current students, alumni, teachers, and many more special guests as we explore what it's really like to live and study in Lund. My name is Bénédicte, and I am a student worker at External Relations. I am also a recent graduate in the Master's Program of Development Studies, and I'm from Mauritius. Today, the topic for this podcast is the Swedish learning environment. And with me, I have Xiomara.
Hello, I'm very happy to be here.
Yeah, if you would like to introduce yourself, where you're from, the program you've been studying in.
Of course, yes. So my name is Xiomara Seminarioc. I am originally from Peru, and I have been studying the master's program in social scientific data analysis.
All right. And are you in your second year or have you finished?
I actually just graduated.
All right. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
And likewise, I just graduated in JIS. And I think we were in the same department, which is...
We were, which was super nice.
Yeah, but it was a graduate school. So it's... It's a mix of different programs, I think, six.
Exactly, there's quite some programs there.
And the idea is that, it's quite, we call it multi-disciplinary. So you have people,
Definitely.
My background is, let's say, international relations, and I was put in the political science department. But you were, for example...
Yes, so basically, I am from the major in development studies. But in my program, there's people from different disciplines as well. Right. So there's people who have major in political science, in law, economic history, sociology. So it's a very, as you said, like interdisciplinary program. I think most of the programs are also like that.
Yeah. And I remember one of the first things before coming to Lund, when you were reading kind of the introduction documents and what the class would be like, they explains to future students that the class is meant to be very international.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. For me, in my case, out of, let's say, 25 students, you should expect something like at least 15 nationalities.
Definitely.
Then the question then becomes, how do you, navigate this? Like, everyone comes from a different country or, education system. What happens if we disagree about something,
Yeah, no, this is a very good question. I think that for me, this was one of the best, parts of Lund University, and just coming to Lund, the fact that you find people from so many different countries. And when it comes to specifically the learning environment, I think it really, especially when it comes to discussions and, participating in class, I think it really provides a good, a rich discussion of because you have people, first of all, from different backgrounds and also from different academic backgrounds, being political science, sociology. So I think this provides a very rich discussion. Everyone has different ways of looking at things or different points of views. And I think that the fact that we have these kind of seminars, that seminars are basically discussions that we have in the middle of the course and also at the end of the course. It can vary from course to course, but I think this is a very good opportunity for everyone to participate, come together and, give their ideas. Since my program is very, is based on the two building blocks of research, which are social theory and research methodology, I think it's very nice because everyone has different ideas of what they want to do research about, So this was definitely super interesting how everyone, depending on their disciplines and the backgrounds, have different ideas or use different theories, use different methods. So this was definitely very interesting. And it's one of the things that I enjoy the most, having a multicultural environment.
Yeah. And it's very nice to hear you talking about that because my program was still somehow different because let's say we didn't have a clear separation between theory and research. We just had a general topic, which is development, as the name of the program goes. And let's say if we talk a bit about the structure of both of our programs and perhaps general Swedish education system, let's say how many hours were you expected to be in class? Did you have lectures every day? Or did you have seminars sometimes? Any kind of group work? How was it structured for you?
Yeah, so I would say that this really varies from course to course. Maybe in your case it's something like that as well. But I would say that in general, you're expected to be in class for around 6 to 8 hours per week, maybe. So like we have 3 to 4 classes per week, and usually, lectures. And usually each lecture is about 2 hours. So it could be either from 10 to 12 or 1 to 3, which was the usual. But there are some courses which are a bit more intense. So sometimes you can have even, 4 lectures per week or even lectures every day, which is not usually the case. And yeah, this depends on the course. And when it comes to work in class, we have both. So we have individual assignments, which is like the most usual, but we also have group work as well. So in one course, for instance, you can have, let's say, 2 to 3 individual assignments, and in some courses you have usually just one group work. So it's of course mostly individual assignments. And it's having group work is, I think, I enjoy the most. Though working with, I would say I prefer group work because you get to also know your classmates, and it's when people put the work into it, it's super nice. But sometimes it can also be a bad experience, because it could be the case that there's some people who maybe don't put too much effort into it. But also doing individual assignments is a nice way to explore your own interests. So I think this is one of the aspects that I really enjoyed about, doing individual assignments, that you can do what you want, and at first it can be tough, deciding. Maybe for you it's the same, like deciding what to do, like what research questions to choose and what topic to explore. So at first it can be challenging, but then when you follow the flow of the project, then it can get easier and easier.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe for our listeners, so Xiomara and I, we both had the 2-year master's program, right?
Yeah,
it was 4 semesters.
Yes.
And in my case, it was that the first 2 semesters would be classes or different courses, some compulsory and some that you can choose. The 3rd semester would be an option for an internship or for study abroad exchange, or if you want to just continue with classes, elective options on campus. And the 4th final semester would be the thesis, which is a big project at the end of your master's program that you, in my case, that you did on your own. But I heard that some programs can do.
Yes, I think some programs, yes. You can.
How was it for you?
The thesis course. Or in general?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the thesis course was intense, definitely. It was very intense, but I think that getting into it at first was intense. The fact that, you're all alone, so there's no structure. You have to arrange your own, schedule, and also keep yourself motivated, every day. But I think that the most important thing for me was just not pushing myself so much, so just trying to do a little bit every day and just building it, building my project little by little. And also, of course, having the fact that you have a supervisor is also very useful, because of course you can, ask questions during the process and everything. So I think it's very important to, make use of this time that you have with your supervisor. And also, one thing that I try to do is, still be social and meet with friends and work together with them.
Take breaks. Yeah.
Exactly, take breaks. And it's also nice when you kind of are with your friends and you can tell them about your idea and they can tell you, and you can just, help each other. I think that was very, very nice, and it definitely helped a lot.
Yeah. And I mean, we've been talking for some time already. And you told me that you did your bachelor's in Lund as well.
I did, yes, actually. Yes.
And I was going to ask you, how do you compare all of this, like the experience of studying in Sweden compared to, let's say, your home country?
Yes, so I started university in Sweden. I've been here for 5 years. I started my academic career in Sweden. So it's a bit tough for me to kind of compare it, how it is back home at the university level. However, I have definitely heard a lot of experiences from other friends who come from Peru, and I think that one of the strongest difference is the informality that you have here in Sweden. Like the fact that you can address teachers by their names, like you could never do that in Peru. I think you have to be very formal when it comes to that. And just the fact that you can approach teachers, just like have a conversation with them, I think that in Peru it's not quite like that, and it's more of a professor student. You can see the relationship there, like it's very strong. You can see it. And another difference, I think that from what I have heard, also in Peru it's more intense. Like the courses are very, very intense. You have more hours of lectures, and there's not so much. I think that from my experience here is a lot of individual work as well. So you have to, read by yourself and, find your own things. In Peru it's more like systematic. So you have to have classes almost every day and for very long hours of the day. So this is also a strong difference.
In my case, I'm from Mauritius,
Yes.
and I did my high school, my primary school, high school there, and I did my bachelor's in Malaysia, as well.
Oh, just
Southeast Asia. And in both cases, Mauritius and Malaysia, it was a lot of emphasis on grades or, getting high scores and the top of a class, you're doing good in math and things like that. And Sweden, for me, the idea is more on enjoying what you learn and learning to enjoy the classroom experience, I think. And I think another big difference that maybe we should mention, and I think it comes as a shock for, let's say, Swedes going abroad, would be that you only have one course at a time in most cases. So let's say you are enrolled in this course from August to October. So you have 2 months of full focus on theories of development, let's say, and you just focus on that. When October comes and you have your final assignment, you move on to the next course. Methodologies, let's say. And you forget theories of development that you were doing for 2 months. But in a way, you don't really forget because you've been focusing on that for so long that your brain has somehow absorbed the content and you've been able to, in a way, master it so much so that you can move on to something else without forgetting completely what you've been doing before. And I think that it really helps to remove the pressure of having many courses together in 1 week. And you have 4 different courses of 4 different subjects, which was my case in Malaysia, and I guess in many other countries.
Yes, no, that's a very good point. Like, I think that also here I feel that courses build on each other. So it's like you use what you have learned in the previous course to, in the next course. So I think this is also a good point. But what you have mentioned of like this importance of grades, like this is definitely, for me, it was, amazing because in Peru, it's definitely, you can see a lot of competitiveness, in the classroom and it can lead to a lot of stress and, pressure. But it is true, as you said here, it's not the most important thing. Like, as long as you, learn, as long as you acquire new skills, like that's the most important, aspect of learning in general.
And we talk a lot about the contacts you made or the network. So that can be your classmates today, could be your future colleagues or collaborators. So it's more about the experience of being in the classroom rather than actually getting good grades.
Yes, enjoying the learning process.
I think so.
Yes.
And you mentioned something about the informality.
Yes.
Can you talk a bit more about that? Because that's, I think,
yes.
When I was in Malaysia, I would always say Dr. Who, Mr. Mrs. But here I can just go with Anne or John.
Exactly. No, I think that is a very strong difference. In Peru, it was the same. Like, I had to dress Professor Carlos, Professor Miss Anita, whatever. I don't know. And here, you can just, talk to them directly. I have even, approached professors to ask them for advice, for career advice, So I think that it's very nice to be able to have this, that you can just talk to professors and you don't feel this hierarchy that, professor student, and you can, talk to them like an informal environment kind of thing. Of course, with respect always, as it should. But yeah, I really enjoyed this aspect.
And we do encourage questions. I really liked, in my first course actually, when starting my first year, we had different seminars, somehow with different times with different teachers, and they tried to do every seminar every week in a different format, so that you can basically choose which way works better for you as both as someone who learns and someone who learns from others, basically. And I think one of my favorite formats was when we had a circle that we called I think it was called the Socrates Circle, just like the philosopher. So it was about everyone needs to talk, but not at the same time. So let's say you have something to say, you can say it, and then your turn is gone. So you just need to listen to the next person next to you. And we all have, let's say, a series of questions that we have prepared based on the readings of the week. And it's about everyone democratically can talk, but not at the same time. And we still make sure that everyone listens to each other. And that was I think my favorite seminar experience. And that, for me, was the best example of horizontal kind of way of teaching and learning, because the teacher sits with us. So, we're literally in a circle and everyone just listens to each other and learns from each other. So I think that's my best memory of
that sounds amazing. That sounds very nice.
Yeah.
Yes.
And let's say you like group work. You said.
Yes, I mean, I think both have their advantages and disadvantages, but I do enjoy group work.
I think I'm not a fan. Fine, I say. But
why is that?
Because I think it's, again, as you said, pros and cons, but when it's an international environment, as Lund is, of course, the idea is to learn from everyone from different backgrounds. And that is it's very rich in itself. At the same time, I need to say it's hard to navigate sometimes because you don't know what the other person expects until you made a mistake, and then you learn from that. So it more often slaps in the face, but these are the learning, let's say the steps on the way of the learning process, which will make you become stronger and more confident in.
But I think, that is very true. But I think it's a good aspect because even when you start, the working in a working environment, for example, if you choose to work in the future in a multinational company or in a very big company, you will find people from different backgrounds, from different disciplines. So I think, as you said, it is tough because we all don't know what everyone's expecting from each other, and we have different ways of I have had cases, for example, where there had even been fights in group work, so this can happen for sure, and not in a massive way, but, of course, some discussions can happen, and this usually was because they wanted to do things in a different way, or they wanted to do a complete different thing, and this, of course, can delay the work, and then it can affect, the group work and how everyone feels, and disencourage others. So definitely, it's tough. It can be tough, especially during the first months for me. At least, when you don't know each other, I think it's even worse. Or when you are in a group work with people who you have never talked to, it can be tough. But it can also be encouraging. I think, it really has, as we have said, its pros and cons.
No, you said it very well, especially this part of the world is looking more multinational all the time. So even if you stay or you're in your home country, or if you're going to migrate somewhere, you're going to meet different nationalities from your own. So you need to have some sort of experience or knowledge of how to deal with that.
Exactly.
And I think now, thank you for convincing me of the power of group work, that I think, Lund, the classroom in the education system, or at least the education we received in Lund, really helped in giving us a hint at what's next.
For sure, definitely.
From a working aspect. And now let's say, do you think, we talked a lot about the classroom, do you think outside the classroom, in terms of your students' life, did you need instances where you were encountering those international situations like that, or meeting new nationalities, did that enrich your experience of studying in Sweden?
Yes, definitely. I think that the student life in Lund is super, super rich, and there are so many different opportunities for one to, meet other people and do different activities, like learn about Swedish culture or things like this. So, in my case, especially during the first years that I was in Sweden, I really tried to, get involved in as many things as possible. So with nations, for example, was one of the things. I was part of Kalmar Nation. I think we're both from the same nation. Nice. So I really tried to, be active in the nation, and I also there met a lot of different people. Actually, in Kalmar Nation, there's a lot of Spanish speaking.
Yes. Okay. Spanish. 2 points here. Let's talk a bit about nations for someone who is hearing the word for the first time. Yes, nation is a country, but in the case of Lund, it's different. How would you explain that nation?
Oh God,
Student nations. Yes.
Student nations. Yes, I would say they are like kind of.
It's tough, right? But the easy way to say would be if anyone has watched Harry Potter.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting things for sure.
Instead of 4 houses, somehow
like that, and they are named after like different cities around Sweden, right?
Back in Lund, away from Harry Potter, so we have something 12 or 13 different student nations, and most of them will have names from different areas of Sweden. Kalmar, as you mentioned, is southeast. Malmö, which is Lund's nation. Göteborg, Gothenburg's nation. Finally, we don't have Stockholm.
We don't.
You know why?
Maybe because of the rivalry? I don't know.
There is a rivalry, right? Traditionally. So if you go to Uppsala, which is the second oldest university, and I think Uppsala is the oldest. So the 2 universities are the ones with the student nations in Sweden. And I think in Uppsala, you don't have Lund's nation. And in Lund, you don't have any Uppsala or Stockholm nation. So that's super funny.
That's super funny. Yeah, the rivalry between Uppsala and
both are, they're, great centers for research, so they do a lot of collaborations.
Yeah, exactly.
But yes, the student nations, and you mentioned something about Spanish speaking.
Yes.
I do hear a lot because I've learned some Spanish words as well, and so many different countries. So you're from Peru, people from Colombia, Mexico.
Yes, I have met a lot of people from Latin America. Yeah. It's so nice because, there are similarities, but also we have found so many differences in us, which is like, how we pronounce words or things like this. So it's very, very interesting to talk about this as well.
And it's amazing for me that such a small town, Lund, can have so many countries.
Crazy, right? It's so small, but there's people from so many different parts of the world.
So I want to say you learn both in the classroom with your teachers and your seminars, but also on the streets when you talk to someone.
I have tried so many different, for instance, cuisines from different parts of the world, which was one of the most exciting things for me. In Peru, you don't find, so many different... and here you find restaurants from so many different places. Yeah, right? So this is so nice.
Yeah. And I mentioned in my program, the structure in the 3rd semester allows you to go on exchange or do an internship if you... Yes. Did you do something like that? Did you have an option to do that? Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So in the 3rd semester, we can do either field work, so you can start preparing your data for your thesis. You can do an internship, or you can go on exchange, or you can just take elective courses. So these are the things that you can do. You choose what you want to do. I opted for an internship because I felt that I really wanted to gain some, work experience, some practical experience, and I was very happy to choose that I did the internship because. I can maybe mention where I did the internship. So I did it in Gothenburg University for a research institute, the Governance and Local Development Institute, and it was super nice because I really got to use what I was learning in my master's. It was like I used the methods, I used the knowledge, and I could really see how everything that I'm learning you can actually put it in practice in a organization and how it is very useful. And I think that it was a very nice experience. Also, the environment where I was interning in was super nice. The people were super, helpful with everything. I was doing remote kind of both had to be there in person, but I was also doing half of the internship remotely, which was nice because, of course, going to Gothenburg every day was for Lund was tough. So it's nice that you have these options as well, right? And that you can choose whatever, it's better for you. So this is nice. And also when it comes to internships, I think that in general, I don't know if for your program as well, but in the graduate school helped a lot in finding an internship. They were publishing if they found something, even professors were, and saying if they, saw something. So this was very, very nice.
Yeah, no, same. I can echo what you said. A lot of support from the department in finding an internship for me as well. I went to Stockholm in my case, it was like a private company.
Did you move all the way there? The time?
It would be 1 semester, so 4 months, a bit more. So in Stockholm is 5 hours by train. It's a big country, and Mauritius, it's a very small island.
I can imagine.
So from the top to the south of Mauritius, it's 1 hour 30 by car.
Wow.
So that's our road trip. So when here you'd have big train rides of 5 hours and you're not even halfway through the entire Sweden.
It's crazy.
But yes, it was better for me to move for a few months. Yeah, it was a company in international development, private, and it again very related to my studies. And actually, it was conflicting because in the classroom, you're taught to think critically, to question, let's say, the word, the essence of development, and then you come to a real life experience, like an actual company. And how do we do things? Questions on budget, questions on, can we go for this offer? You forget your theories that you need to think practically.
Yes.
And we need something to make the coffee machine work, things like that. So that was kind of a conflict for me in a way, because let's say the classroom teaches this, but then this is what's happening in real life. So I think at the end of the internship, the idea is to integrate the classroom learning, the theories, and everything, the readings that you made, and use this knowledge, theoretical knowledge, to solve problems in real life, the coffee machine and whatnot. But I think that's a goal, I guess, of both the internship experience, but also of the master's program in itself. Because you stay in the classroom for, let's say, 2 years, or you stay on campus for 2 years, but then you're expected to do something else after that.
Yes, this is super interesting. And also the fact that you intern for a private company. In my case, it was university, so I think it's also contrast kind of thing.
Coffee machines.
Very interesting.
But Xiomara, we're reaching the end of the episode, and I just had one last question for you.
Yes, of course.
If you could summarize in one word the Swedish learning environment, what would you say?
I would say exciting.
Okay.
I would say exciting. Because for me, at first, I was so worried. I remember, and actually a lot of questions that I get from people are like, how is the learning environment? I'm so worried because, I come from Peru, and, here is so informal. We have a lot of long hours of class and things like this. So a lot of worries from, new incoming students on how the Swedish learn. So I would say exciting because it's very new. It's very, it's quite different. But in a way, it's also nice, to have these aspects that you don't have back home, maybe. And being able to, enjoy, as we have said, enjoy the learning process. I think this is a very, how to sum up how the Swedish learning environment is.
Nice. And I would say stimulating, because I've been challenged. Group work, coffee machine, everything. But I enjoyed being challenged intellectually. And it was stimulating. So you really grow in the process. So
definitely. That's a good way of putting it. For sure.
Likewise. Well, thank you, Xiomara.
Thank you so much for having me. And I was very happy to share my experience.
We were happy to listen. Thank you. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Lund University International Podcast. If you're interested in learning more about Lund University, you can go to our website, lunduniversity.lu.se. You can also follow us on social media, on Instagram, Facebook, and X,
and you can chat with current students on Unibody. Don't forget to subscribe, and we look forward to bringing you a new episode very soon.